tribal or regional.
Thank you for staying with us on Daybreak, and of course we've been taking a look at different stories making the rounds this morning, but it's time for us to go look at the newspapers with the headlines and the most interesting what we'll get to analyze this morning on the show. So we'll start with Daily Trust, of which of course Ayuba has a copy with him, and let's see what's making the rounds on the Daily Trust newspaper.
Yes, on the Daily Trust newspaper, the lead story there, he says, parties optimistic as tribunal rules on Atiku Obi's petitions tomorrow. The writer says judgment will affirm Tinubu's mandate. According to APC, we expect justice, nothing else. PDP candidate. We are confident of winning, says the LP, that's Labour Party. And then also the last rider to that story, ballot, not judiciary, will make pronouncement. That's according to Civil Society Organization Code. You also have above the lead story, I get frightened each time I receive workers' payroll, says Tinubu, the president, on page 3. Pension, 72,000 workers not properly captured, says PENCOM, on page 19. 30 trillion naira borrowed from CBN. Inexperienced boy bought jet under Buhari, says Sanusi, on page 3. Now you have also the pictorial there showing you the chiefs, that's the security chiefs, out from a meeting yesterday with the president, and also below that, subsidy removal. NLC shuns FG begins strike today, on page 3. The true story about my choice of Yaradua, former President Obasanjo speaking, on page 14. BON kicks as Rivers shots AIT Ray Power, on page 6. Palliatives, Kano distributes 457,000 bags of rice, maize to citizens, on page 14. These are the main stories on the Daily Trust cover page.
Let's take a look at the main stories in the This Day newspaper. Boldly captioned here is on Sanusi is how Buhari mismanaged Nigeria's economy in 8 years. That seems to be a clapback from what Godbashew said yesterday, but you can get more details. There's a writer attached to the story. It says inexperienced rookie bought private jet on the ex-president. You start reading on the front page, but continue reading on page 24 in This Day newspaper. Above that, we have a pictorial of Sanwo-Olu and his associates, the governor of Lagos State, after embarking on a train trip via the Blue Line rail from Marina to Mile 2. Okay, there's a lot of smiles there. And yes, so just beside it, we have Tribunal delivers judgment in Atiku Obi's petition against Tinubu tomorrow. Page 24 has more details of that story. Above, we have Owando set to take over Achip's oil and gas power assets in Nigeria. There's a rider, two riders actually attached to the story. It said deal awaits regulatory approval, and the last rider says any to focus on offshore business in Nigeria. It started on the front page, but page 24 has more details. And let's look at the bottom strip. We have 2023 budget. The federal government posts 4.6 trillion naira half-year revenue. Page 5 has that. And then we have a pictorial about inclusive governance. Get all of the details in the This Day newspaper. That's how much we can take from This Day.
All right. Now, the Guardian newspaper this morning x-rays the 100 days of President Bola Tinubu in office. It says Tinubu's burden of resetting Nigeria in 100 days. You have bold reforms leave Nigerians more miserable amid assurances. On page 6, you have also Gabon coup leader General Nguema sworn in as interim president. Apprehension as Labour begins warning strike. Court rules on presidential election. Tinubu not to blame. Buhari plunged economy into crisis, says Sanusi. Well, these are some of the major stories. And yes, major story from Lagos yesterday, Sanwo-Olu flags off commercial operations of Lagos Blue Line Rail. So these are some of the stories on the front page of The Guardian this morning. We have Dr. Theophilus Abba in the studio to talk to us about some of the stories. Dr. Theophilus is the director, Daily Trust Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor, as always.
Thank you very much.
Coming.
All right.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, a lot of stories really to talk about. I wouldn't want us to touch on the big day tomorrow, the judgment day, if you like, of the presidential elections. But we all know that it's coming, so let's just leave that aside so that we don't run into trouble, by virtue of. But then there are other interesting stories. On the front burner today is the issue of the NLC strike, which they are expecting to hold today and tomorrow as warning strike and all that. But we've spoken to some of our correspondents out there, and we are getting a feeling of, as if there's no compliance, full compliance with the directive of the NLC to embark on a on the 2-day warning strike. What do you make of this?
The NLC strike, to me, that is a perspective from what I have seen and my readings of the situation. NLC did not build the momentum for this strike. What I mean is this: we didn't see NLC coming up with the passion that we expected of the NLC to say, well, Nigerians are suffering, we don't agree with what is happening. For instance, since May 29, Nigerians have been facing a very tough time. If you look at what the Guardian talked about, he said, look, bold decisions, but misery. We've been in this misery. And NLC, TUC, they are supposed to say, well, we are the face of the Nigerian public, because Nigerian public don't have any other rallying point, apart from the NLC and the TUC. But all this time, we've seen them doing neither cold nor hot approach, to this matter. They have not shown the kind of counter argument to what the government has come up with. They have not shown that, look, they have alternative viewpoints. For instance, we kept arguing that, look, fuel subsidy should be removed, in principle. But how do you remove the fuel subsidy? Let me tell you, one, the refineries are not working. The Dangote refinery we thought would work in July, it didn't work. Now they say it will work in August, it didn't dispense fuel in August. We are in September. You understand? So all the things that ought to have been put in place to cushion the effect of the subsidy we have not seen. Even the palliatives we are talking about, farmers are saying we are not feeling it. People are not seeing
But
this.
in their defense, they say that, well, they were trying to give the government time.
Yes.
To have a proper negotiation and discussion with the NLC.
Yes.
And that's why they have allowed this, period of time.
But initially, they were talking
with
about
the
2
government.
months. They talk about 2 months. It's over 2 months now. We are 3 months into this government. But then, apart from the momentum, you see, I took time to read the statement the communique issued by the NLC yesterday, and they mentioned the subsidy removal in the introductory part of their statement. The remaining paragraphs, about 6 or 7 of them, and their demands, were actually about their labor unions. They said, in Imo State, the governor is doing this to their members. In Abia State, the government is doing that to their members. In the FCT, Wike is threatening their members. In Lagos, the NURTW, they are threatening them. In the aviation sector, their members are facing some challenges. Then they put this together, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and say, because of this, we are going on warning strike.
Oh, Doctor, what does this mean now?
It means that, look, well, I may be wrong, but I think NLC is to be selfish. Because what they are talking about is not about how this thing affects the ordinary Nigerian. They are talking about their unions in the states.
So don't you think they're talking about the removal of fuel subsidies all-encompassing? Because that's what's driving a lot of Nigerians.
Now, what I expected, if I were, an official of the NLC, is to marshal out issues with regard to the subsidy removal, what they had told government to do, which government did not do, the alternatives to what they expect, what government has done. Those are the things I expected in a statement by NLC threatening to go on strike. Now,
but they said that the government is not engaging with them. That
if the government is not engaging them,
the meetings, that
that the government is not engaging them. Then what did you intend to tell government? Is the government will not engage you if government discover that you are not serious? Sincerely, my own take is this. I may be wrong. I don't see NLC being serious about what we are talking about. When they did the warning strike or the protest was like a carnival. Then they went to the villa and did photo ops with the president, and then they say, we protested. It didn't show the kind of seriousness. Maybe they are not feeling what Nigerians are feeling, because the pressure on Nigerians is really so much that we expected that NLC should, every day, mount pressure on government. You must do something. You must do something. Now, you see, even talking about the transportation sector, which is one of the things that affects almost everything, both human and the movement of goods. You understand? If you want to move from here to Lokoja, previously it was about 1,000, 1,002. You understand? They're talking about 500, 3,000, 4,000, even 5,000. About 5,000 now from here to Lokoja. Something that used to be maybe 1,000, or you just stand on the road, somebody says, okay, enter and go, let's go.
As long as 500.
It's used to be about 5,000. Now, if you take 5,000 from your pocket, you definitely feel it. The cost of food items have gone up. Now, government said, we are going to supply rice. We are going to supply palliative. We thought that they had this thing in some silos. They entered into the market where the ordinary Nigerian buys this thing and mop them up, causing hike in the price. You see, I was thinking that if government wants to, bring, help Nigerians with these palliatives, it can even order rice to be imported from outside Nigeria. But then the ones in the market, when Nigerians go to buy at 40,000, which is already high, the thing jacked to about 50,000 because the people that government gave money to go and buy, to supply this thing, were mopping this thing up from the market.
So does it mean that the middle class has been affected now? The middle class who might not get a hold of this?
Is there anything like middle class in Nigeria today?
Yes, of course.
I don't think there's anything like middle class. Let me tell you, if those who call it the middle class, if they run into trouble, if they need 1 million naira and they can solve the 1 million naira, they'll be down flat. You'll be back to the law. Because where is the money to, that you can depend upon to say, I belong to the middle class? If you are a director in a government agency, I don't know how much directors earn, but I don't think directors will earn 1 million naira in a month. I don't know if they earn 1 million naira in a month. But if you earn 1 million naira in a month today, and you have to fuel your car, you have to buy food, you have to pay rent, you have to pay school fees, 1 million naira cannot take you to the end of the month. If you really have to do what you need to do to behave as if you belong to the middle class, unless you are one of those who have access to government funds where you can just get money from the treasury. If you can't get money from the system, there's no way you can say you are middle class. What is the middle class? If you earn 400,000 naira in Nigeria today, it can't take you anywhere. If you earn 500, it cannot take you anywhere. Talk about if you earn 100. If you earn 100, you have every day you spend at least 2,000 naira. To and fro your place of work. Every day, at least 2,000. You come about 1,000, return home about 1,000. 2,000 times 30 or times 25, that's 50,000. So that does not include what you eat. That does not include other things.
All right. Okay. So, doctor,
NLC is not serious as far as I'm concerned. They're just selfish.
All right.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we cannot proceed because of time. I wish to ask you one more question, but then we have to go. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on Daybreak this morning. We look forward to having you again.